Behold, the divine light guides us all.
Barakatah Yahweh Shah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah.
Psalm 145. I will extol thee, my God, O King, and I will bless thy name forever and ever. Every day will I bless thee, and I will praise thy name forever and ever. Great is the Lord, and greatly to be praised, and his greatness is unsearchable. One generation shall praise thy works to another, and shall declare thy mighty acts. I will speak of the glorious honor of thy majesty, and of thy wondrous works. And men shall speak of the might of thy terrible acts, and I will declare thy greatness. They shall abundantly utter the memory of thy great goodness, and shall sing of thy righteousness. The Lord is gracious and full of compassion, slow to anger, and of great mercy. The Lord is good to all, and his tender mercies are over all his works. All thy works shall praise thee, O Lord, and thy saints shall bless thee. They shall speak of the glory of thy kingdom, and talk of thy power, to make known to the sons of men his mighty acts, and the glorious majesty of his kingdom. Thy kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and thy dominion endureth throughout all generations. The Lord upholdeth all that fall, and raiseth up all those that be bowed down. The eyes of all wait upon thee, and thou givest them their meat in due season. Thou openest thine hand, and satisfiest the desire of every living thing. The Lord is righteous in all his ways, and holy in all his works. The Lord is nigh unto all them that call upon him, to all that call upon him in truth. He will fulfill the desire of them that fear him. He also will hear their cry, and will save them. The Lord preserveth all them that love him, but all the wicked will he destroy. My mouth shall speak the praise of the Lord, and let all flesh bless his holy name forever and ever.
Abanawa, Shabashamayim, Kodash, Haya Shamka, Yahweh Malakwithka, Taba'a Ratazaka, Haya Aisha Ba'arataza, Kawa Haya Bashamayim, Nathananawa, Lakam, Kal Yawam, Wasalaklanawa, Kawabwatnawa, Kasalaknawa, Kawabwatinawa, Wala'a, Tabayanawa, Banasayawan, Abal, Haushainawa, Mayan, Rai Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwath, Waha Allah, Wahataba Arath, La Iwalamium, Aman.
Barakatah Yahweh Shah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakakodash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to us younger brothers, and peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bashim Shah, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful lake, the believers, the listeners who have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashim Shah. All right. And what I want to get into today is going into the book of Isaiah, the 13th chapter. And this precept has been coming a lot lately, going into, all right, these news and prophecies, because everything that the devil is doing, is leading to America being destroyed, these Edomites rulership coming to an end, all right, and the government of Yahweh Bashim al-Shah being established in the earth, because you go into Isaiah 13th chapter, it goes into heavy prophecy, concerning the war, the nukes, All right, the Russians, being raised up, the Medes, okay, so forth and so on. And I want to emphasize on Isaiah 13:2, lift you up a banner upon the high mountain. Okay, I want to go into that term banner. And to understand this book, it's good to know, ancient customs, ancient terminologies, okay, war, okay, different things, that pertain to the scriptures, okay. So understanding, certain terminology and certain customs, war talk, king talk, okay, the ways of the East, gives us a more thorough understanding of the scriptures. That's why we go into these things. Now, when you go into Isaiah chapter 13, verse 1, it says, the burden of Babylon, which Isaiah the son of Amos did see, okay, concerning what? America. All right, Babylon, aka is America. Babylon, the great mystery Babylon is America. Okay, America is, a focal point of end time prophecy, man. America plays a major part in running, okay, this current world system to the ground, running this system to judgment. Okay, the world is being judged because of this great rebellion, okay, through the elites. All right, that's taking place here in America, man. Babylon the Great. Verse 2, it said, lift ye up a banner upon the high mountain, exalt the voice unto them, shake the hand that they may go into the gates of the noble. So it said, lift you up a banner, okay, upon the high mountain, man. Okay, and the banner that we're lifting is the scriptures, all right, which is a standard. Okay, and we're lifting it upon this high mountain, America, man. We're exalting our voice, okay, and shaking the hand at the elites. That's why I said that they may go into the gates of the nobles, man. Okay, because the main audience of this rebuke of the scriptures is the elites, those that run the earth. Okay, and the Lord has sent the prophets as a messenger under the banner of Yahweh Bashim Al-Washai to shake the hand at the elites of this current society, man. Okay, so let's deal with this this term banner. I got a few things on the chat pulled up, okay, and I want to get some precepts to go into it as well. So when you go into, all right, what is a banner? Okay, and what was the purpose of a banner? Especially, all right, when you go into times of war, okay, because Isaiah 13 is dealing with war. Okay, now when you go here to the chat, now I know some of you brothers, even some of you sisters as well, if you're into, the period pieces or especially Game of Thrones, okay, you seen, how significant, the banners, with the signals, all right, the sigils, what they call it, the signals, if I'm saying it right. Okay, the different icons and emblems, that will be on the banners of the different houses. Okay, well, we come in the banner of Yahweh Bashim Al-Shah. Okay, as you had House, Lannister, they will have the lion, House Stark had the wolf. Okay, so forth and so on. All right, but everyone has, their banners. Okay, well, now, as you relate to this time, with all these nations, they move, because these flags are nothing but a banner. You see the flag of Russia, flag of China, well, those are the banners. Okay, that represents a government. It represents, all right, a order. Okay, it represents, a constitution. There's a lot that goes behind, that flag. Okay, well, how much more the banner of Yahweh Bashim Al-Shah? Okay, it represents a government. It represents an order. Okay, it represents, leadership. You see? So it says, in times of war, banners have carried powerful meanings that go far beyond decoration. Their significance can be understood across several key roles: practical, symbolic, psychological, and cultural. identification and organization. It said before modern uniforms and communications, okay, banners were essential for identifying armies, units, or leaders on the battlefield. Soldiers rallied around their banner to know where to assemble. Losing a banner often meant confusion or defeat. Capturing an enemy banner was a major victory. So, in this day and time, we're those soldiers in Yahweh Bashim al Shah that are rallying around this banner. We're assembling around Yahweh Shah. Okay, and see, when we lost our banner, when we lost Yahweh Bashim al Shah, all right, where did we go? We went into confusion and defeat. You see, the Lord allowed us to to be stripped from that banner. He allowed the banner to be stripped from us, man. When we went into confusion and defeat, but now we're rallying around the banner of Yahushua. Okay, we're going to get into it with some precepts, but it says symbol of authority and legitimacy. It said banners represented who had the right to fight. Kings, emperors, clans, or state displayed their crest colors or religious symbols. Fighting under a banner meant loyalty to a ruler. You see? And that's why taking that sea hill is treachery, man. Okay? The elect, who was predestined to, overcome this man's system. Okay? They have the victory over this man's system. They're going to stay loyal to their ruler. Okay? And our ruler is Yahweh Bashim al Shah. Okay? So fighting under banner meant loyalty, man. You niggas that's around here calling on Christ, man, that's the wrong banner. And that's another thing. You niggas calling on Christ going into these times, man, you're not going to have the protection of Yahweh Bashim al Shah under the banner of Christ. Okay? And those false doctrines, man. That's not the right banner, because the banner, you had to come in the right name. Okay? There was a certain conduct that was required that was linked to that banner. Okay? There was a certain reputation that came with that banner. You see? So you niggas with these false doctrines in the name of Christ, okay, right before, the war gets hot, okay, you're not going to have any protection, man, but there's protection under the banner of Yahweh Bashim al Shah, man. Okay? It says, fighting under a banner meant loyalty to a ruler, cause, or divine authority. It says morale and unity. Banners served as a physical embodiment of honor and pride. Seeing one banner still flying reassured troops that the battle continued. Defending the banner could inspire extraordinary bravery. If its fall could shatter morale. Okay, psychological warfare. Banners were used to intimidate enemies. Large or ornate or numerous banners made an army appear stronger. Symbols such as animals. So yeah, man. Let's get some precepts, because I went also into Isaiah 13. Okay, and 2. What would a banner lifting a banner look like in modern times, according to Isaiah 13 and 2. So we'll come back to it. Okay, but right now, the Lord is rallying. Okay. Around the banner. All right, the Lord has his people rallying around the banner of Yahweh Shah. Okay, because you go to the book of Genesis. All right, we're being assembled, by his word. Okay, it's the book of Genesis, chapter 49. Okay. In verse 10, it said, the scepter shall not depart from Judah. Okay, because Judah is their head tribe. All right, and it was a promise made to King David that he will always have a son, okay, an heir to sit in his throne, forever. And that was fulfilled through the birth of Yahushua. Okay, as he was born through the lineage, okay, in the line of King David. Okay, and as he's coming back to establish the throne of David in the earth forever, which represents the unity of tribes. Okay, it represents dominion over the heathens, and the Lord's will being the standard in the earth. Okay? It says, until Shiloh come, and until him shall the gathering of the people be. So this is Yahweh Shai, Shiloh. Okay, it goes into tranquil, because through Yahweh Shai, peace is going to be brought to Israel, man. Okay, and eventually peace is going to be the standard in the earth. But it begins with peace being brought to Israel. All right, the people that's been afflicted. Okay, under the rulership of their enemies. Until Shiloh shall be the gathering. So let's go here. Okay, because it will be a spiritual gathering. Okay, under this banner. All right, and the elect are being assembled under the banner of Yahweh Shai. So let's go to the word gathering. In the Hebrew, it looks like Yaqua. All right, what's it? Yaqua Ka. All right, Yaqua. I'm saying it right. It says obedience, cleansing, a purging. So we're being gathered through obedience, and his word is cleansing us, is purging us, man. That's the gathering. Man, that's heavy. You know? So we're being gathered through an obedience, through a cleansing, and through a purging, man. You see, we're being gathered under the banner of Yahweh Shai. You know, and this banner comes with protection, it comes with provisions, and we're really going to see, you know, the value of being under the banner of Yahweh Bashim Shai, you know, as things increase, man, as things get worse. Okay, so let's go here real quick to the book of Baruch. All right, Baruch chapter 5. All right, this is Baruch chapter 5 and verse 5. It says, arise, O Jerusalem. So this is a call to Jerusalem to assemble and stand on high and look toward the east. All right, and behold, thy children gather from the west unto the east by the word of the Holy One. So it begins with us being spiritually gathered by this word. And then there's going to be a physical gathering at the coming of Yahweh Shai. Okay, it says, behold, thy children gather from the west unto the east by the word of the Holy One, rejoicing in the remembrance of the Most High. Okay, and then also, you know, you go to them ancient wars, you know, and then you can be in the midst of, you know, the heat of the battle. Okay, and the soldier can get out of pocket. Okay, but then he can look up and see that banner, and then he can, you know, get back on point. Okay, he can find his way back because of that banner. You know, so the Lord through the prophets had lifted up a banner to where all of us was out of pocket. Okay, we was, you know, we had wandered off. Okay, and was being overcome by the enemy. But now there's a rally, there's an assembling, okay, of the elect. You know, we see that banner now, we can go back to that banner. All right, and it's the preaching of this word. That's the banner, the conduct. Okay, so as we come back to obedience through faith, we're coming back to that banner. You know, we're homing ourselves. Okay, we're remembering the righteous ways. We're remembering our power. We're remembering us. Okay, so that banner was a way for us to reset ourselves in the spirit. Okay, and now we're more effective against the enemy because we rallied behind, you know, this unified banner of Yahweh Shai. Okay, that's why it's important to have the same doctrine. Okay, same judgment, you know, the same name. All those things matter. This ain't just no random thing that's going on. The Lord is really organizing, man, under Yahweh Shai. Let's get this. Let's get this. Let's get this in the book of the Wisdom of Solomon, the 8th chapter. All right. This is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 8, and verse 1. It says, wisdom, okay, reaching from one end to another mightily, and sweetly does she order all things. Okay, and how this wisdom going forth? Through the internet, this word going out. All right, and it's reaching from one end of the earth to the other, and it's assembling the elect under the banner of Yahweh. Okay, so let's go here. I want to go and get the second part of this chat. So I asked, I said, what would it look like lifting a banner in modern time, referring to the precept Isaiah chapter 13, verses 1 and 2. Okay, so it's saying, it says, in its original setting, this is a prophetic summons, the Most High publicly signaling judgment and mobilizing forces to carry it out. Because in verse 3, okay, when you go to Isaiah, and I'll just get it, I'll leave it on this screen, but I'll just read it real quick. Okay, bring context to one second. All right, Isaiah 13:3 says, I have commanded my sanctified ones, which are the prophets. I have also called my mighty ones the angel for my anger, even them that rejoice in my highness. Okay, so as the Lord is commanding his banner to be lifted. Okay, you see, in the midst of our enemies, man, the Lord lifting up his banner. Okay, lifting up his standard. You see, lifting up his authority. Okay, amongst the enemy. And now he's calling, his sanctified ones, the prophets, okay, along with the heavenly hosts. Okay, everyone is playing their part and is leading up to Yahweh Shah. Okay, coming and finalizing the judgment, okay, of the whore and these heathens, man. The whore, which is America. You see? So not only is he calling for the banner to be lifted, the Lord is beginning to put these things in action now. The judgment is being put in action. Black Lives Matter and okay, whatever Jake was on, whatever movement Jake had, okay, a Crip flag, a blood, ain't no power behind it. Okay, well, there's true power behind the banner of Yahweh Bashim Al-Shah. It says visibility without obstruction. It says modern equivalent. It says a message place where it cannot be ignored or hidden. A message place where it cannot be ignored or hidden. And it's the internet, and the Lord has his prophets right there on the highways and byways. Okay, brothers have become landmarks in the different cities that they teach in. You see? So no one can say, well, we didn't know. Well, we didn't see that banner. No, the Lord lifts his banner up every day. And then the camp, is lifted a little higher. Okay? It says a message place where it cannot be ignored or hidden. Public platform, the internet, public speaking, global media, digital networks, international stages, man, the internet, the unicorn. All right, their line have gone throughout the earth. Okay, Psalms 19. Okay, brother can post it. A few precepts out of it, man. They're unicorn, man. You see, a clear stance taken openly, and there's no hiding what we believe. Okay, and we teach about proper conduct. We teach about prophecy. We teach about righteousness, a new world order and righteousness, a new government, the throne of David. Okay, who the chosen people are, who the impostors are. Okay, there's a clear stance. Anything that we and even you go into the any doctrine, any law, to leave it at that. Any doctrine, all right, any law, whatever, no, it's openly understood what we believe, man. Okay, we don't deal with the gray areas, man. Okay, 2/3, the community. Okay, gotta work on my you guys say the community with the Baltimore dialogue, but nah, man, everything, our stance, women, you see, ain't nothing secretive. Okay, so it's a clear stance taken openly, no ambiguity, no backroom signaling. It says the truth, all right, or warning is set in the open. No excuse can be made for not seeing it. Okay, as the scripture says, there should be no cloak for their sins in St. John. Okay, because we've spoken plainly. Okay, no private interpretation. No, we spoke plainly, man. All right, it says modern equivalent, a clearly articulated moral, legal, or spiritual position. Okay, it says proclamation or declaration that defines boundaries, a cause that draws people together for or against. Okay, raising the voice. It said public speeches, official statements, viral communication. Okay, who's doing this? Public speeches every week, every day. Okay, because when we upload the videos, you have the option of what? Going public or private. Public. You see? Official statements, viral communication, prophetic or ethical voices calling out injustice or corruption, whistleblowers, reforms or movements, okay, speaking plainly. Okay? Silence is no longer permitted. This call is audible and intentional, man. Yeah, so let's get a few precepts. Okay, let's get a few precepts and we go back to the chat. All right. Okay, so this is, let's go here. As a matter of fact, Isaiah 58. All right. What are we commanded to do? Isaiah 58:1, it says, cry aloud and spare not. Lift up thy voice like a trumpet and show my people their transgression in the house of Jacob their sins. Okay? So we're commanded to publicly speak. Lift up thy voice like a trumpet. Okay? Giving our people the expectation of our power. Look, telling them this is off. This is pleasing to the Lord. This is displeasing. Okay, so the Lord has raised up the ministry to give the do's and don'ts to our people, what to separate from and what to cleave to. Okay, and it's not about perfection in the law, but there's a standard. Okay, there's things that we cannot do in this kingdom, man, and there's things that we should be doing more. Okay, we cannot celebrate these wicked holidays. Okay, you can stop getting lineups. Okay, you can eat according to the Levitical, all right, diet. Now this devil, he does what he does. Okay, but our intention is to stick to the do's and don'ts when it comes to, what not to eat. Okay, you cannot have sex on the Sabbath. So there's a standard. You see, there's an expectation, being brotherly, how to be a brother, how to be a man. We learn all this in the truth, man. Because we was all lacking, but the truth filled in the blanks that's making us pleasing to our power. What to cleave to and what to separate from, man. Okay, and we're constantly lifting our voice like a trumpet, man, and telling Jake what it is, man, the do's and don'ts. Okay, so public speaking is a part of the public. Let me see. Let's go here. So this is a lifting the banner. We're doing this thing to where is we intentionally want to be seen and heard. Okay. This is the book of St. John, chapter 15, verse 22. It says, if I had not come and spoken unto them, they had not had sin, but now they have no cloak for their sin. Okay? And Yahweh Shah has spoken in this time through the prophets, man. It's impossible for anyone to say that they didn't know. Okay? Because like the scriptures go into, man, and we're intentionally, okay, being seen and heard. Okay? Okay? Because if you on YouTube, you're seeing them thumbnails. Okay? You're seeing, a recommended video. Ain't no getting around it. Proverbs 1 and 20 said, wisdom cried without, she uttered her voice in the streets. She cried in the chief place of concourse, in the openings of the gates in the city. She uttered her words, saying, how long, ye simple ones, will you love simplicity? And the scorners delight in her scorning, and the fools hate knowledge. Okay, because to ignore this word is to hate knowledge. To be non-responsive to this word is to hate knowledge. Okay? And love death, as it says in Proverbs the 8th chapter. They that hate me love death. Okay, so the Lord is intentionally put himself in the path of everybody through the internet, through the camps. All right, so the Lord has intentionally put himself in everybody's path. Okay, so now everyone is being held accountable for how they react to this word. Okay, in Proverbs 8 and 1, it said, doth not wisdom cry and understanding put forth her voice? She standeth in the top of the high places. You see? By the way, in the places of the past, man. So the Lord has put this word in everyone's path. He said, oh, well, you would have to ignore it. You're gonna accept it or ignore it, man. But he set it up to where the decision is on you. Okay, but he made sure that this word is in everyone's path. Okay, let's go here. Matter of fact, let's just get the next chapter. Yep, let's go. Proverbs 9 and 1 said, wisdom have builded her house. She have hewn out her 7 pillars, man. Just like no one can say that they ain't see Noah building that ark. As long as Noah was building that ark, you didn't need no word of mouth over 100 years. So it was out there. Okay? Even if you didn't physically see it and you heard of this man building the ark on dry land. Okay? So just now, as you see, the brothers teaching, okay, edifying with edification, going to build up. Okay? So you're condemned as you're watching this house, all right, which wisdom is building her house, man, the house of David. Okay, this third temple is built by wisdom. The pillars of this house is wisdom and understanding, man, which is the spirit of Yahweh B'Shem Shah. Okay, it says she have killed her beast, she have mingled her wine, she have also furnished her table. She have sent forth her maidens, the prophets. She cried upon the highest places of the city. Okay, so the buffet is prepared. Okay, and if you're rejecting the buffet, this spiritual buffet, you're going to be held accountable. Okay, because this is a king's feast. Okay, and the king is going to be extremely displeased. He's going to be extremely angry at those that rejected his feast, that he's put his labor into. He's put his time and resources into. He sent forth the maidens, the prophets. Okay, cry up on the high places, because this is a daily invitation. Okay, and every day that someone doesn't come into the truth, that's a day That's another day that they rejected the invitation, man. Okay, and that's why we come into the time where the Lord is going to stop inviting, and He's just going to unleash their wrath, their anger. Okay, it says, "She hath sent forth her maidens; she cried upon the high places of the city. Who is simple, let him turn in hither. Or as for him that wanted understanding, she said to him, Come, eat of my bread and drink of the wine which I have mingled," man, which is the truth. You know, that bread and wine, that's the invitation to this grace, okay, which is leading to a new covenant. Okay. So the Lord is inviting his people to make another agreement. He's inviting them to the sit down. Okay. Because right now we're in grace. You see, with those that are breaking bread, and because the bread is the body of Yahushua, their drink, their wine is their blood. So as we partake, all right, in this feast, as we're breaking bread, going into the understanding of Yahushua, all right, their blood, the understanding of their sacrifice, and showing appreciation for their sacrifice. Okay, we're aligning ourselves, okay, with Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. We're coming under that banner. Okay, because we were all what whoso is simple. We were simple. Okay, we were voting. Nigga voted for Obama. We thought we was up. Then we had Obama. Okay, Jeezy. We thought we was up. All right, simple. You see, but now we have this the real banner. Now we're being assembled under a banner of true wisdom and understanding. Okay, it said, "Forsake the foolish and live, and go in the way of understanding." And the way of understanding is being assembled under this banner of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, man. Everyone's being gathered, under Yahushua. Okay? So let's go back. I think it's a little more dealing with that on the chat. And then we get a couple more. Heavy. Yep. So let's go back. It says, what it say? It says public speeches. It says modern equivalent, raising the voice. It said public speeches, official statements, viral communication, prophetic or ethical voices calling out injustice or corruption. Who shall declare his ways to his face? In the book of Job, Job 20 or 21. All right. It said whistleblowers, reformers, or movements speaking plainly. Okay, and this is the embodiment of the ministry, man. All right. It says silence is no longer permitted. The call is audible and intentional, man. Okay. Silence is no longer permitted. You see? It said entering the gates of the nobles. It said confronting, listen to this, confronting centers of power, governments, corporation, and elites. Who's doing this? Through the Spirit. Okay, we're rebuking in the Spirit. You see, we're not taking up, physical arms, trying to do coups. Nah, man, we just rebuking in the Spirit under the banner of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. Okay, and that's why when the devil, he makes his move, and see, this is why he don't handle brothers any type of way, because the devil knows the banner we under. He has respect for that banner. Okay, it's gonna come a time when the Lord's gonna force this man to make his move, and he done. Okay, you see, because that's gonna be a true declaration of war when he moves on that banner. Okay, when he moves on the church, the prophets, man. Okay, the Lord's gonna allow, some martyrs for the testimony of Yahushua for the sake of prophecy, man. Okay, but overall, all right, this devil is going to get a hell of a reaction when he makes his move, towards the prophet, because in his mind, he thinks he's just going to have his way round up the church, get rid of the church in the midst of setting up his new world order. Nah, man. You know, the dragon, wants to make war with the remnant of her seed. Okay, her representing Israel, the remnant, the elect of Israel. Okay, so it says confronting centers of power, governments, cooperation, elites, accountability, reaching leadership, not just the public. Yeah, because you devils, you elites, beginning with you elites, because all you Edomites are a problem. The earth has an Edomite problem. Okay, under the banner of Yahweh Bashim Al Shah, we're calling out the source of the problems. Yeah, we get on our people 2/3. Okay, the nigga and the nigga woman, they are a problem, and there's a judgment for them as well. Okay, but we can't not mention the source of the problem. Okay, they're a product. Okay, of Esau, man. 2/3 is a product of the problem, which is Esau Edom. So the accountability starts with Esau Edom because he allows and he manufactures niggas and the nigga woman, man. Okay, YNs and thoughts, and he manufactured that. He incentivizes that, man. Okay, and the Lord going to hold you more accountable. I'm going to get there. It says systems being challenged at their strongest points. Okay, because this devil has more weaponry and more technology than he's ever had, man. Okay, but the Lord commanded us, all right, to shake the hand at this nigga in his highest point. Okay, it says it said lifting the banner today will look like a clear, public, uncompromising declaration of truth or judgment. Okay, a clear, public, uncompromising declaration of truth or judgment, man. And the scripture tell us to what? Be unmovable. Those that stood stiffly for the name. Okay, place where all can see, spoken where all can hear, demanding a response from both people and power. Come on, man. Who's fulfilling that? Who's fulfilling that real time, man? And it's all through the will of Yahweh Bashim Al Shah, man. I hate the water, Yahweh Bashim Al Shah, for allowing us to even be a part of this, man. Because it's all the will of Yahweh Bashim Al Shah, man. But who's doing this, man? This is the book of Job, chapter 21, verse 29. It says, have you not asked them to go by the way? And do you not know their tokens? All right. And a token is a sign, a distinguishing mark. Okay. A token is an indicator. A token can be a banner. All right. And Esau's conduct is his banner, his wickedness. Okay. Because of the kingdom is a reflection of the king. Okay. So this current wicked society, okay, is a reflection of the wicked rulers. These are his tokens, his signs. All right, man. In fact, let's get that. Let's get that word tokens. Okay. Let's see what tokens, which is Awath. Okay, Awath. Let's go here. Yep, there you go. A distinguishing mark, a banner. You see that? A distinguishing mark, a banner. Okay, a warning. Okay, a proof, a standard. Okay, so this nigga wickedness is a proof of who he is. It's a banner of who he is. He can't help but come under the banner of wickedness, man. He can try to dress it up as something different. Okay? But what's being exposed that this man is the wicked. He's always been wicked. He was never right. Okay, he just hid it well. And it wasn't time for him to be exposed, but now, okay, his banner of wickedness is flying high. All right, verse 30 said that the wicked is reserved to the day of destruction. They shall be brought forth to the day of wrath. Who shall declare his way to his face? And who shall repay him for what he have done? Okay, so the prophets are declaring this man's way to his face. Okay, and it's going to be the Most High through Yahushua that's going to repay him for what he have done. Okay? Now, man, so the Lord is making it plain. All right, there's no, gray areas of where we stand now under the banner of Yahweh Bashim Al-Shah. These things are cut and dry. Okay? And it was always set up. Because even you go here. All right. This is the book of Exodus, chapter 17. In verse 14. And it says, and the Lord said to Moses, write this for a memorial in a book and rehearse it in the ears of Joshua, for I will utterly put out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. So the Lord got this nigga noted. The Lord left himself a note to remind himself, all right, to take you Amalekites, which the earth is being ran by Esau, and it's Amalek that's at the forefront. Is this nigga calling the shots and financing and the enchantments? Okay, he's the head of the snake. Okay, and when you remove the head of a snake, the body, all right, collapses, man. Okay, for I will utterly put out the remembrance of Amalek. This nigga never was, man. All this havoc and dust this nigga kicking up. Okay, it's gonna come a time like this nigga never was, man. Okay, it's gonna come a time where like he never ruled the earth. It's gonna be a time like he never existed as a nation, man. Okay, it says that Moses built an altar and called the name of it, which is Yahweh Nasah in the Hebrew. Okay, once you go into that, let's go into it, Yahweh. All right, Nasah. And what does that mean? Yeah. So you go into Yahweh Nasaya. Okay, Yahweh Nasaya. Yahweh is my banner. You see that? Full circle, man. Okay. So we in the time where the Lord is making good on their promise that he will lift up his banner against Amalek, man. Okay, you leaders. All right, you're going to be, because Amalek going to be held more accountable than anybody. Okay, it says, for he said, because the Lord Yahweh Shah has sworn that the Lord will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. Okay, and this is that generation when the Lord gonna make his move. He has allowed you devils, to be in power, to rule in utter and complete wickedness, and now we coming to the point that the Lord gonna make his move, man. Okay, so let's go here. We can end off with this, man. The GNT. Okay, this is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 6. It says, "So then, you kings, you rulers, all right, the world over, listen to what I say and learn from it." Okay, because this is when you look at it in the spirit, it's a message to us. Okay, first, because we fail, we didn't take heed to Yahweh Bashim Al Shah. We didn't, We didn't uphold our end of the deal, which is obedience. Okay, but now in this time, it's speaking to you current rulers, you Edomites, man. Okay, because it's not meant for you devils to learn. We're learning from our fall, so you devils can't learn, but you devils going to be judged harshly. Okay, it says you govern many lands and are proud that so many people are under your rule. But this authority has been given to you by the Lord Most High. He will examine what you have done and what you plan to do. Okay, so you devils are being on a heavy scrutiny right now. Okay, the wickedness that you've done and the wickedness that you plan to do, you're going to be held accountable for all that, man. Okay, you have to remember Esau Edom, he's been held in heavy offense, man, for what he's trying to pull off in the earth, man. This is a great offense. Okay, he says you rule on behalf of the Most High, His kingdom, and if you do not govern justly, if you do not uphold the law, if you do not live according to the Most High's will, which this devil does the exact opposite. Okay, because it's the Lord that allows a nation to rule. Okay, because the earth is just a province of the Heavenly Father. All right, the great King. Okay, so He allows these nations to rule in the earth. Okay, but He holds you accountable. Okay, and the devil, he thinks he's above being held accountable, man. Okay, he says you rule on behalf of the Most High, His kingdom, and if you do not govern justly, if you do not uphold the law, if you do not live according to the Most High's will, you will suffer sudden and terrible punishment. Judgment is especially severe on those in power. Amalek, man. Okay, the nation of Esau as a whole, but it's Amalek that's calling the shots of this kingdom, man. It says, common people may be mercifully forgiven for their wrongdoings, but those in power will face severe judgment. Okay? Those in power will face severe judgment, man. Okay, and this is where we at, according to prophecy, where those in power are getting ready to face severe judgment. The world as a whole is going to be judged. Okay? But the elites, you're going to be judged more severely, man. Okay? Because you're going to be the beginning of Edomite captivity. And it's going to be the worst captivity the earth has ever seen. Because you're going captive under gods. The Lord's going to make us gods. Okay? And make you slaves, man. So so much to look forward to, man. So yeah, that's the point. Just wanted to get into that. Something I was looking into. But Lord will, you brothers and you sisters edified. Till next time I say shalom. 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 Shalom.